Legal issues within your family are tough enough, but when the military is involved, you need an expert. Board-certified family law specialist Bud Kluik is here with some advice for local military families. And Bud, you were recently part of a seminar that was educating other attorneys in San Diego County about family law issues as it relates to the military. It's really an issue that a lot of attorneys don't have a lot of experience with.
Yes, that's right, Greg. And it's always gratifying, I think, to be invited to be part of a seminar or whatever where you're addressing other attorneys, because it obviously implies that other folks kind of think that you know what you're doing. And we had a recent seminar this particular month up in Oceanside near Camp Pendleton. It was geographically near Camp Pendleton. It wasn't actually on the base, but I'm sure the location was not selected by accident. But that's always gratifying. I do a lot of lecturing because I'm an adjunct professor, which, as you probably know, Greg, adjunct means it's kind of a fancy word for part-time. But in that context, I'm lecturing law students. And, of course, they're, like I was when I was a law student, in awe of their professor. But when you're lecturing other attorneys or sometimes judges, I mean, I've had several seminars where there were judges in the audience. I remember one in El Cajon where there was all of the family law judges in the El Cajon court sitting in the front row. That's a little, nervous creating. But my point is, it does show that people respect you and respect your reputation and respect your knowledge base, and that's always very gratifying. We recently talked about military families in that context.
Yeah, and that's what we want to talk about. Divorce is never easy in any situation between any couple, but there are some particular issues and problems that can arise with military families, right? Oh,
of course, Greg. For example, the major one would be deployment, which, of course, is the word for when folks are sent overseas. For example, the law says specifically you cannot lose custody of your child because you're deployed for military service, which makes sense. That was a relatively recent law. I believe it was enacted in 2005. But it went into effect on January 1st, 2006. But my point is that obviously you can't be caring for your kids if you're on the deck of an aircraft carrier. So you need to go to court and get new orders that are consistent with your deployment, and then when you get back, you need to get orders that are consistent with your coming back. And then there's reintroduction issues. There are reintroduction issues, as you might imagine, Greg, when you're an intact military family. But when there's actually been a divorce or they're going through a divorce, all of those reintroduction issues where the service member is coming back off of deployment become exaggerated, and you need to have somebody with some experience who knows how to handle this and knows how to handle it right. For example, if somebody's coming off a deployment, you want to file your paperwork so that the court appearance can happen very close to close in time when the service member returns. And you have to know somebody who kind of knows what they're doing to know those kind of tricks of the trade, so to speak.
Now, you represent both sides, both the military men and women who are deployed overseas and their spouses.
Yes.
As far as child...
And we give a hero's discount, and we give a hero's discount to the military dependents as well. So anybody who's in the military or is a dependent of the military can come to us, and we'll discount their fees. Gotcha. Because our heroes deserve that.
Now, what about, you touched on child custody, what about child support? There's some unique issues there as it relates to the military.
Well, yes, because military pay is very kind of complicated, Greg, and you have all these various designations of basic pay and C pay and hazard pay, and you need to know what all of that means. And then, of course, the basic allowance for housing, BAH, and all of these various designations. Part of that is taxable. Part of that specifically is not taxable. You also have to know how to read what's known as an LES, or leave an earning statement, which is kind of the military nomenclature for a pay stub. but it's much more complex, and you need to know somebody who's been around the block, so to speak, with reading these things in order to analyze them and point them out to the court, because the judge may not be all that sophisticated with it, and you need to kind of lead the judge, or not lead the judge around, but kind of point out to the judge various facts that will help your client get what he or she wants from out of the family court.
Some very complex issues. If we don't have a family member that's in the military, we certainly know someone living here in San Diego. Bud Kluek, a board-certified family law specialist. Thank you so much for coming in. Some really good information there.
Well, I'm here very regularly, Greg, and if people can contact me, we just had the number up on the screen. We have a lot of knowledge, not just in terms of military cases, but in family law cases itself. I've been practicing for more than 20 years.
Perfect. All right. We will see you again, to be sure. And for more information, you can go to our website, sandiego6.com. Well, easy ways to go green, an eco event here in San Diego you don't want to miss. That's when San Diego Living comes right back.